Okay, so let's continue. So these are transformation methods for upper and lower cases. You can use them as much as you want. You need, I will repeat myself once again, that in programming, if one equation, it doesn't matter how many different variables inside, return you some data type, you can always count on the whole equation as this data type. So as I showed you in this example. Yeah, so this is a string. After that, it's still a string. After using upper method, it's still a string. It's still a string. And after using method is upper, it became Boolean. So you can use these methods. Speaking about methods that we put one after another, the rule of execution is simple, from left to right. So when we had methods, brackets inside brackets inside brackets, we did from the inside to the outside, and methods that are used with a dot, so it's from left to right. One, 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 and all of the methods are executed one by one. So it is always like that. I will comment this part also. And continue writing below. So now let's switch to string sample free. I will do the print statement, string sample free dot. This sample has some extra asterisks and extra white spaces in here, and quite often you will see you will be in situation when you get some string, but it has some unneeded characters. You can easily get rid of them, and you have a method strip for that. So the strip method. And if you see the output now, you can see that all of the extra white spaces, they're not present here anymore. So all of the extra white spaces were deleted. The asterisk sign left where they were. The reason for that is how the strip method works. Before that, I showed you only methods that didn't get anything in the brackets. So it was upper, lower, but didn't write anything inside the brackets. But if I delete these brackets and put them once again, you can see a snippet that shows you what can be added inside. And basically, these are called argument method arguments. So if you read what it said, it says that you can add chars that must be a type of string. So by default, strip methods only puts white space in there. So it deletes only white spaces. But you can write anything you want here. So you can create a string and say, I want asterisks to be deleted. Did anything happen? Well, it did. It didn't even delete the spaces. The asterisks are on the same time. And the reason for that is method strip only deletes characters that are in beginning and the end of the strings. For now, I have a asterisk here. This means that I'm not using space anymore or white space anymore. I want to be asterisks to be deleted. And if I delete all the spaces from the string, and use it this way, then asterisks will be deleted as well. But for strip methods with a asterisk as an argument, we have string that starts with spaces, and then strip method won't work with this string. But in that argument, you can actually put many symbols. So I can put a white space as well. So now method strip will look for white spaces and asterisks in the beginning and the end of the string and delete them. So I can cut beginning and the end of a string. I can add something else, for example, letter E. And the letter E will be deleted as well. And for example, letter S. So it ends with letter S, and letter S will be deleted also. So when you put a string here as an argument, method strip does look for each of this symbol in the beginning and the end and deletes it if there is one. By the way, there is E inside white space, and I have E here. It wasn't deleted. Same with S. Why? Because it's not in the beginning and not in the end. So if I do put a couple of symbols in here, so all of these symbols will be deleted from the beginning and from the end of the string. So it won't delete anything because it looks, the beginning starts with spaces. So there is no space in here. We won't be deleting anything. If I add space, then it will be looking for spaces and asterisks. So it will work like that. And quickly show you another example. There is an rstrip and there is a lstrip methods. Rstrip and lstrip, right and left strip. So basically normal strip works both beginning and the end of the string, and rstrip works with right side, lstring with left side. So if you want just to trim end of the strings, you can use rstrip, and if you want to trim beginning of the string, you can use lstrip. Both of these methods can take arguments as a string as well, so pretty much same as normal strip. And still none of these methods change the original. We always create a copy of string and return a copy of string. Print string sample1 replace method. And beginning from now, I want you to pay attention to these snippets you get. These actually help a lot when you don't remember what you put inside the method. You can always check with these snippets without documentation. So we have an old, new, and a count. So 3 different parameters can be here. Replace method is used to replace some part of the string with something else. So let's try. I will replace the word world to the word planet in a string example 1. Basically, these arguments have the right order. First word is always an old one. The second is always a new one. So if I swap them, their places, I put planet and world as a second, it won't work. It won't do anything. Because why? Because there is no planet in a string sample 1. So how it works? It takes whatever we write here, searches for it, and if it finds, it replaces with whatever we put as a second argument. There is another argument, count. I will put comma here and say 1. Let's try again. So what count changes? It changes how many times we change, we do this swap, we do the replace. So when I put 1, only first world will be changed, replaced with a planet. The rest will be untouched. Unfortunately, we can't choose which one we want to change. So it's either first or all, or maybe first, second, third, and so on and so on. Interesting fact is, I'll do it as a separate example. Let's do the string sample 2, for example. If you want to get rid of spaces, for example, so if you want to get rid of something, delete some characters from the string, not just replace it with another one, but delete them, you can do it this way. For example, I put a space as an old and leave an empty string as a new. So what it will do, it will look for all of the spaces and replace them with an empty string. And in the end, I will get a new string that doesn't have any spaces inside. Or maybe you want to get rid of some exclamation marks, dots, commas, whatever. Letters maybe, it's up to you. So these two methods, strip and replace, are used to delete some symbols or maybe replace some symbols. And we have another two methods and we can move on. This part is done. Yeah? Print string. Let's take string sample one. We have a method count. So what it does, it counts how many times some substring is found in a string. So basically, I will write what word world 2. How many? In the first sample, string sample 1, the word world is counted as 2. 1, 2. So there are 2 worlds in string sample 1. If I use something else, like world with T in the end, I will get 0 because there is no match in string sample 1. World. As about count methods, we do have this way. We do have couple of more arguments. It's a start and the end. So basically what you can do, you can search for, let's say, the same world, starting from index 8, and you will get only one. Why? Because index 8 is somewhere around here, and starting with index 8 to the end of the string, there is only one world. Yep. Same, we can put some end index. For example, let it be 14. Then the answer is 0 because between somewhere around here and here, there is not a single world string. So start and end, these are optional arguments. You can put them. You can either put them or no. So basically what this method does, it returns you an integer, same as method length. So length is an integer as well. It returns integer, how many numbers. It returns an integer of how many occurrences of this substring was found in a given string here. So how many occurrences. Other method is similar. So I will use string sample 1 again, but use method find. And put the same string. Method find also returns an integer, but this integer is not count. This integer is an index where the first world was found in a string sample 1. First occurrence, because we have 2 there, we only get one answer, one index. So you can find first occurrence of this word. And you can also add start and end. So basically, if I start with 8, for example, it will be index 12 because first word from here somewhere will appear on index 12. Yep, here. So you can put end as well. If you have some large string, for example, and you want to check only part of it, you can do that as well. But it still returns the index from original string, not from the slice you mentioned. Sorry? -1 is when it didn't find anything. So for example, I do start at 15 or maybe 8 till 14, same as the last example, then I get -1 because it didn't find anything. So there are definitely more methods for strings, and what I want you to do at home, we have this website w3schools.com, and another one, it's Programiz. Let's see, Programiz Python. You better Google it so you get to the right page. Programiz Python. These two resources will help you to get some information you forgot, or maybe you don't know, or maybe something that you're searching for. So they do, W3 Schools do have a tutorial as well. If you want, you have it here through tutorials, learn Python tutorial. But what I want you to look at is reference. And if you go to reference, you can open string methods here, and you have a list of all possible string methods that we have here. I didn't show you all of them because some of them you won't understand now. We need some extra knowledge. Some of them are rarely used, so you can look through just to check for yourself which methods are also available. And the thing is that you actually never you actually don't have to remember all of these methods. Some of them are used on a daily basis, so you will remember these. Some of them are used in special occasions. And what you need to know is approximate what you can do with a string in a Python, and where to find information explaining that, because that's the main way the programmers work. Because if we take all of the data types, all of the methods, add libraries, add methods that come from libraries, it is so much information that it's impossible to store in one head. And if you start learning some extra programming languages to be let's say a wider specialist, then you will get more on top. Because in, for example, in JavaScript they have most of these methods, but they have different names, so you have to remember two different ones. So learn to use reference. Programiz, you can type Programiz Python into Google, it will give you the first string. It is quite good as well. It does have references, it does have examples, so you can take any method, or and so on and so on. You can get some extra information here as well. For example, I take method strip. Let's take something we didn't see, for example, zfill. Zfill translates as zero fill, and the logic is easy. You have a string with 2 symbols, but you want it to be 10 symbols long. So txt.zfill10, and as a return, you get a string that is filled with zeros up to the length of 10 characters. So sometimes it's needed. So W3 Schools and Programiz for you to use as a reference, or maybe to get explanation for some methods we didn't use. I will show you some other methods later on in the course, but not today. Any questions so far? Okay, so I will comment everything here and continue writing below. And now what I want to talk to you about is how you can work with strings, because at the minute I only showed you different methods, how to take part of the string or maybe transform a string to something else. I want to show you different ways of working with strings and different possibilities that you have. But first of all, I will start with a print method. I'll do it like that. Print hello, print world. Uh, how does the print method works? Every time you see a print, it prints on a separate line. So every time you use a print method, it does print something inside the brackets on a separate line. Then you can use an empty print statement, for example, to get a line break as well. So you have a line break between these two words. But what we need to understand that print method does that because it has its own parameters as well. I didn't show you that before. We used it as simple print method, but it does have some parameters. And before I get to before I get to parameters, I want to show you this table. You remember that I showed you today. Escape character, so makes quote not to end the string. So these are all escape symbols. Don't take no, these four last ones is we won't be talking about them at the minute. So what you need to escape single and double quotes if needed. So if you have a string with double quotes, you need to escape double quote. If you have string with single quotes, you can escape single quote. The backslash itself. So if you don't want backslash to act as an escape character, for example, if you have a print, let's say, I don't even find the words. Let's say common, and I want slash to be here. Slash n is a new line symbol in Python. So basically, if I leave it like that, it will leave me a blank space after that and won't show me the n letter. If I want to use backspace as a character, I need to escape backspace itself. So it's like that. Backspace slash backslash. So the backslash needs to be escaped. The well, it's not escaping, but slash n is a new line character. So if I want to put a new line somewhere in here, I can do it this way. Slash n, and you have hello on the other side. Yeah? So every time you have a slash n in your string, it will insert a new line. Carriage return is rarely used, but slash t is a tabulation. So basically it will add you 4 spaces. Tabulation is 4 spaces in Python. So slash t will add you a 4 space characters here. So these symbols, you need to get used to them. Slash n is quite oftenly used, so as escape symbols. Slash t, I don't find it needed very often, but sometimes you might want to use it. Carriage return does return, let's say, a cursor back to the beginning of the string, and it's let's say useless for now. Backspace deletes the previous symbol, so it's quite useless as well for now. So why every print message? Do another one here. Why every print message does insert us a line break? Let's leave it like that. Because print method does have a couple of different arguments. For example, it's an AND argument. AND argument basically takes the character that will be used to end the string. If you don't enter anything in the AND argument must be written this way, AND equals. If you don't insert anything here, it takes /n as default value. So that's why every print starts on a new line, because previous print finishes with the line break. And it's all done by this AND parameter or argument. So I can change it. I can change it to 3 asterisks, for example. Now there is no line break after this print. So instead, 3 asterisks were added. So you can work with the print statement as well, and sometimes it's useful. Why we have a line break after world? Because it uses the default value. Default value is a line break. So if I change AND here to something else, for example, 3 hash symbols, it will be changed as well. So if you want to change the default behavior of the print statement, you can choose what it ends with. Second thing, I only showed you how to create strings with a plus sign by adding different strings one to each other. But if I want to do something like that, let's say year plus 2023. So,
but instead of hello, like string, we can write variable as well, right?
yes, of course, of course. Everywhere where you can insert a string, you can insert a variable that is a string. So basically, variable is only a link to the string that is to the value that is inside it. Every time you use variable, it will give its own value. So you can use variables everywhere.
Okay, but this end parameter, does it work with everything like integers, floats, and everything?
No, it's a string thing. So we can put integer here. It will be a mistake because we are talking about strings today. So end parameter is for strings only. Year. No, you can put some variable that is boolean, for example, here, but you need to convert it to string. So pretty much every type can be converted to string, but you need to convert it. So this way we understand. We know already that that doesn't work. What works? We can use comma to separate values. And when we use comma, we can use different types at the same print statement without any problems, without converting anything. Why is that? Because we don't add a string to a string. We just give separate values that needs to be printed. So using comma is a good way of creating strings, but we have a problem. The problem is that it automatically adds a white space between two different values we put in a print statement, in a print method. So even if I delete this white space, it doesn't count. So it will still put a white space between values. We can work with that as well. There is another argument in the print method. This argument is sep, SEP or separator. So by default, print method uses space as a separator, and every time we put a comma, it will insert a space between values. So by default, we have space in here, but we can change it to everything else. So I can change it to 3 asterisks, then it will add 3 asterisks instead of space, or more logical, I might want to change it to an empty string. So don't add anything there. So when separator is an empty string, it won't be inserting these white spaces between values. It will just concatenate like it was before. And looking at that string, we never used type conversion. We don't need to convert from one type to another because we use comma separator and this works. Of course, it's not the best way to create strings, and if you do that on some work interview, they won't be happy with that, because there are many different ways of doing strings better. But you need to know that the sprint method does have some arguments inside that actually can be used to achieve different ways of outputting the text. Next example I will do with different variables. I'll do a variable salary, let's say 2000, and I'll do a variable text where I will write that John's salary is, and put the curly braces inside. I left these curly braces here on purpose because we have another string method that uses that can be used to create formatted strings. What do we have here? The string is just an example. We have some empty space that needs to be filled, and we leave a curly braces in there. How can I use this format method? I can actually take the strings variable text and use a method format. This is one of the methods that if you read snippets you get there, you won't understand anything. Args, quarks, I will speak about them when we start writing functions, but basically args is as many arguments as you can put in there, so it actually doesn't mean anything to us. What I do, I put a salary variable inside it, and let's put it into a print statement so we can see the result as well. So by using method format and putting one argument into the braces, this argument was automatically inserted in curly braces. So when we see the output, we see that John's salary is 2000, and like you mentioned, I guess, without any type conversion. So I give an integer here, it converts automatically. I don't need to convert it myself. So 2000 salary is an integer, it was inserted into the string, and we got another string as a result. Let's check. Name text. It works. It was some other output. It was, I think you started terminal display or something like that. So this one works. Okay. Sometimes I don't remember some key combination opens Python in terminal, and you think that it's an output, but actually it's not. It's like terminal Python separately. So you can put an argument here, basically some value, and it will be automatically inserted into the curly braces. Actually, you can do more than that. You can take John out from here and put curly braces and create a variable name where you put John, for example, and add two different values here to get the same result. So now I have a string that can accept name and some salary, and I can use a lot of different names and salaries for the same string. The thing you need to remember that the way these curly braces occur in the string is the same order you need to put these variables in a format method. So basically, if I change places and say that first I put salary, then I put name. Python won't understand which one is the name, which one is the salary, and put it in the same order inside the string. So salary first, then name. So 2000 salary is John. And for us, it's not the best ways because we need to remember where we use it, where we already used it, and where not. And maybe I want to use name another time here. John is working, for example. So I don't have a third variable here. So I need to add it as well, and if I do that, I will add name again, so I will repeat myself, which what is not repeating yourself is not best thing in programming. So if you cannot repeat yourself, do that. If you don't repeat lines of code, it's a good thing. So I have to add another name, and maybe it's a large text. Maybe it's not a couple of sentences. Maybe it's, for example, some work agreement where my ID code, my name and surname and salary are mentioned many, many times. I will have to write a large, large string and then remember the order where I add something. We have a life hack for that. Instead of adding repeating variables here, I can put numbers inside these brackets. I can say that this is 0, this one is 1, and the third one is 0 again. And now I don't need that second name variable here. So I won't be needing this second name variable because I now have indexes for these variables inside format method. So basically this is 0, this is 1. We can add something else like let's say I'll add Python string here and change this one is writing to code. Yeah. So I can add as many single variables as I want, and if I want to reuse it in my code, I can add numbers in curly braces only. So I don't have to repeat myself. That's a good thing. Same again. Here, because it's not a variable. So these two come from variables. And this one I just entered the string. I just want to show you that you don't have to put variables all the time. If I don't need a variable, I can put a string here. Or any other data type. Format method does take all of the data types and does convert them automatically. So you don't have to do that. What do you think? Because is writing numbers inside curly braces better than just writing empty curly braces? Is it easier? But if we have a large text, let's say work agreement, where you have 20 different variables, you have to remember which number is which variable all the time. So you need to remember where you put. It's not the best way to do it for large texts. Maybe you have 100 different variables or something like that. So what you can do, let's say we make a message variable where I will create a new string and say this, put curly braces, costs, and put another curly braces. Let's say put dollars as well. What we can do, instead of using numbers, we can create keywords. So I can say that here I will have a product keyword, and here I will have a cost keyword. and put a column in there. Column. Start a print method, and let's use format method as well. Again, format. We don't have any numbers now, and order inside format methods brackets doesn't actually count because we don't have any order. We don't have any numbers there. We do have keywords. So something is a product, something is a cost. So now inside format method, we can write that product equals to, let's say, computer, and a cost equals, let's say, I put integer in there, 1000. And I don't have to do this in that order. Why is that? Because it's like that. Because now I have a keyword, and it doesn't matter in which order I put these values. Each keyword will go to the right keyword inside the string. So order doesn't count. And why is this method better? Because every person that reads your code can understand what are you talking about. Not like before, what's number one, what's number two, what's number 100. You see, it's a cost, it's a product. I understand what you write here. It's even better way to do that. There is another much more better way to do this, but we will see it a bit later. So now I can use these keywords as well. So you can choose whatever method you like to create strings, to format strings. The only thing you need to understand that the better that the more readable your code is, the better, because you'll have to read your code even more than write code. And I like to say that always write code this way, like some crazy maniac will be reading this after you, and he definitely knows where you live. So make code clean, comments all the time, and try to write it in a good way so every person reading it will be glad to read it and understand it. Another yep. Let's see. It might work without one. It will work without one, but I will still leave one after cost. It's the next topic, and for that I will open you another picture. Actually, all pictures I show here, you have it in GitHub as well. So always add it. But this was taken from W3 Schools. I will show you this picture. Here it is. Different format methods, but I will actually open you a W3 Schools page because you will get a better overview from there. W3 formatted string, Python string format method. Yeah, you have a copy here. Basically, these are different formatting types. And what do I mean about that? For example, cost. You know that prices usually written with cents, like two decimal numbers. So basically it's 1000.00. So I want my integer, this integer cost, to be represented, or it doesn't matter what we insert here. I want it to be represented as a 2.2 floating numbers. So I can add a format. We have a special format as a small letter f here. I can show you example from here as well. So I can add dot to f, and it will leave only two symbols after the number, or dot just f has a default value of 6 symbols. So if I want this price 1000 having a dot and two zeros, I can just add dot to f. Yeah, a special format that will change my price to this view. Even if my price is something like that, it will still work. It will still change. So if my price is an integer, it will add two zeros, but if my price is a float, it will do a floating number. So these
F is for float.
F is for float. Yeah. So if you add 4 here, for example, you will have four zeros, and so on and so on. So you can check that. I don't want to show you all of these methods. They are different, but I will show you some of them. For example, plus sign will make sure that you always have a plus sign before the integer, before positive integer. So you have, for example, 5, it will write you a plus 5. If you have minus 5, it won't. Or if you use, for example, this one, comma. Use comma as a thousandths separator. So you do something like 13,800,000,000 and so on, and use comma to separate thousands. Or it is similar to that, use the underscore to separate thousands. So it's just take something, some text you have, it's mostly numbers, but there are some for text as well, and do some format to them. What else can be? Center align the result, for example. Yep. Center align, use 8 character spaces and put your result in the middle. So basically put white spaces from left and right to make it 8 symbols in total, and so on and so on. You can look through that on W3 Schools at Home. You can write it down as your little homework, but you just need always to know where to find this information, because I see no point for you remembering all that, because you might be needing this, I don't know, maybe once a year for some work, or maybe some of you will be working with these formats all the time, and others won't be doing it even a single time. So you don't need to learn that. You need to understand that you have opportunity to use it and where to find explanation of how it works. That's the main thing in programming. So we do some formatting. Next thing is a bit different, but I don't want you to write it down. You have it in your example in 002 string methods. But I will show you, I will copy and show you this. The reason why I don't want you to write it down is because it's an old method. So the old method of formatted string is using %sign, and logics is quite easy. So I have this string that has %sign, and it also has formatting here. So .4f is already formatting, but it has %sign at the point where I need to insert something. And another thing, if you don't have formatting, like here, for example, I leave it like that, it will be an error. You need to add data type. So it might be in I for integer, S for string, or F for float. So you still need to add that. So if I run this, I finish the string with another %sign and give a variable after that. And it will take it the same way as the format method worked. The reason why I don't want you to write it down, because this is the old way of creating formatted strings. You might be working somewhere with legacy code. Legacy code means some old code written some time ago. Let's say before newer versions of Python with new features were created. And you might see this code, but in your works that you will be doing from now, you shouldn't use it unless it's like compulsory, unless you have to. Second example is a bit larger. It still uses the %sign. You don't know this data type yet. It's called dictionary in Python, or object in other programming languages, if you heard about them. I will explain it later, but the thing is, we have a couple of different %signs with keywords. So we have name, age, and salary. These letters S, and S represent a string. As I told before, percent sign must be with the letter S, I, or F, string, float, or string, integer, float. But it uses a more complex data type that has a key value parse. Name is that, salary is that, age is that. So that's why it's working. Uh, Once again, when you write your programs, you will be using another method. I will show it to you now. But you might find this in some occasions. So don't be afraid to work with it. Just letting you know. You will find these examples in string methods too. So if you want to look through this again. Uh, and I will show you the newest and the best way to create different strings. We still have a name and a salary variables here. And what I will do, I will write a print method and start the string with an F letter, lowercase f. F stands for formatted string. And what formatted string does, you can write your string as usual. So let's say hello, and I want to add some variable inside. So what I do, I just put curly braces and take a variable I declared before. So basically I'm taking this variable inside. And if I do that, it will work. Why this method is the best? Because you don't have to do some counting, you don't have to create some keywords, you don't have to use format method. You just write your string, and in the place where you want to add a variable, you just add this variable inside the curly braces. What else I like about this method, you can still use Python methods inside. So name is a string. I can use method upper to make it an uppercase right here inside your string without any other methods, without saving it to any other variables or anything else. So it makes code to be written easier and faster this way. Also, also I can reuse variables. For example, like that is salary, and I can still use formatting. So everything works inside one line of code, and these F string or formatted strings are the newest addition to Python. These were the last ones to be added. Before there were only percent sign or format methods, and this makes Python very light, and it makes it easy to write some large blocks of code. So if you have, for example, quite big string with a lot of different variables and so on and so on. So that this is the best way to do it. Because if I want to change something, I change name to Mary and the salary to 3,000, I can do it easily by just changing values inside variables. So what I think you will be doing is try to use f strings anywhere you want to add values inside your string, because you don't have to convert anything as well. So you just put any data type there is, you don't convert anything. It is done automatically. Don't forget these spaces and stuff. So basically curly braces only accept a variable, and you can still do something with it. So for example, plus like that, plus 20, for example. So you can still use Python inside these curly braces and do something else and create your string, but it's much more easier. So it's a good thing. I will show you another example.
But
No.
I have a question.
Yep.
In these simple examples, it doesn't really matter you use like the string itself or the variable.
Mhm.
But if that would be like very complex function, then it matters, right?
It's actually don't. If you use formatted string, you just put variables inside curly braces, and if you use pure string, you just write
No,
it
I
here.
mean these curly brackets.
Yep.
It shows name. Okay.
It shows the
Otherwise,
variable name.
it should the variable name. But otherwise, we could write it plus name and plus the string, right?
Yep.
Okay.
So you can do this name upper plus, let's say, name again. So I concatenate to string. So Mary Mary.
Okay.
Everything, all of the Python works inside curly braces. The only thing you can't do multi-line Python. So only single lines.
And this is the best readable version of Python, right? I
Sorry.
mean, this is the best version of writing.
Yes, but more, let's say, it's easier version of writing some complex strings, and it's let's say better readable version of writing strings, because here, for example here, no, let's say, yeah, here, name. I don't understand what am I talking about. Same thing. For example, I will do, let's say, here I have a variable product that will be equal to computer. And here I won't insert a string, I will insert product. So if I read this code, product equals product, I need to go back, find the variable, and see what product it is and what will go here. And here actually you do write your string. You just write whatever text you want and use variables inside. So it's best way. Plus other methods require you to use separate format method as well. So you need to add another method, so an extra line of code.
For the future, it may be really like advanced question. For example, we can add input to the product and salary and name
Yep,
and
yep,
everything, and we can scrape data from somewhere
yep,
and put it inside.
yes,
Then it will work.
yes, exactly like that. Yep.
Yeah.
So it's quite flexible, and the only place you will see this percent sign, it's a MySQL connector. If you go to my Python lectures, we will have two lectures for MySQL. MySQL will be doing all together, but we will have separately MySQL connector for Python. So your Python program can connect to a database and actually write, read, and so on and so on. There is one method that requires you to write a percent string, but it's not a big deal because it's you can do it the other way. So just not use this method, but I will show it. The only place I saw where you must use percent sign. The others I usually use the formatted string. I don't even remember when I was using format method last time. So it's that good. And I think that it was method format first of all, then they added percent signs in some later version of Python to make it a bit easier, and then they made a formatted string as a better way of creating strings. And actually I teach JavaScript as well, and it's quite similar situation in there. So they have they don't use letter F, they use this side quotes or whatever these called. So, but it's pretty much the same thing, formatted string. Okay, I'll show you another example. I'm not. Well, I don't want you to write it down. I will just copy paste it here, and you will have one home task doing this. What do you see here? You see here a lot of different symbols and a letter B in front of the string. The idea is that Python can not only read characters as we know it, like letters, symbols, I don't know, maybe some numbers. Python can also read bytes. For example, if you open an image file, and read it, Python must return some text. But you can't return text from an image. But what you can do, you can return bytes. And what you see here is a byte representation of some characters. So there is a method decode to decode byte strings like that to normal strings. And we have to use the encoding. Do you know what encoding is? encoding basically tells computer how to translate bytes to symbols. And there are different encodings. For example, some time ago, it was quite a long time ago, let's say 10, 15 years, if you opened websites on different languages, for example, you open a website on Cyrillic, it showed some not readable symbols, and you had to change the encoding for Cyrillic to make browser to understand this text. It was same with Estonian. Some Estonian symbols were read as the wrong ones, so you had to change the encoding. For now, UTF-8 is like universal, like one of the best encodings that covers pretty much all of the languages. But there are some hmm? There are exceptions. Yeah, there are different encodings. For example, if I use UTF-16, the same byte string will be translated to something else, because there are different algorithms of encoding bytes, and that's when you have to use encodings. I will speak about encodings a bit more when we start working with text files. For now, this will be enough. There is another method encode, e decode and encode. Encode does the other way around, so it takes some data and converts it to byte string. I can show you as well. Let's say text will be equal to hello world, and I will print text encode. If I leave it like that, it will take default encoding. You can see it here. I'm pretty sure all of you have UTF-8. But you can change it as well. For example, if I change it to UTF-16, I will get a byte string, because UTF-16 is a bit more complex encoding, and it changed hello world to this representation of byte string. And if I copy it from here, for example, and say that print I want to I want to decode it from UTF-16, I will get a hello world. So basically it works two-way rounds. Encode creates a byte string, and decode creates a normal string from a byte string.
B is for byte.
B is for byte, yeah, byte string, or by binary. Okay, you know what? We have 15 minutes left, but I'm pretty sure I won't manage to explain you if-else in 15 minutes, and I will leave it for other lesson, because we will have flow control. Not next one, the one after next. So we will look through all of the if and else. So maybe next lesson we'll see how fast we will go. Any questions?
I just
so much information.
The first lessons are always too much information. Then it's a bit easier.
Yeah, probably when I get home, I can watch the video and go through the lesson itself.
I will give you homework as well. I will add it a bit later. So there will be some tasks with string methods. Next lesson we will be looking at complex data types. So you might hear about them as arrays and objects. In Python, these are lists, tuples, sets, and dictionaries. So I'm not sure if we managed to finish with dictionaries, but it's not a problem. So we'll see them, and I plan to show you for cycle as well next lesson, but we'll see how it goes. Maybe not.
and one more thing. I missed the half of the class because I was in the call. Yeah, can you upload the sites that you were talking about as well? Like learning, you showed two
websites. Yeah, W3 schools and.
Yeah, can you send them?
Yes, I will do this after we finish. Anything else? So we will finish a bit earlier. I own you 13 minutes. So next time maybe but as we usually do, if we have some shorter lessons, it happens sometimes. We just gather all the time, and then I might do something extra, for example. some extra day maybe, or they do some let's extra hours to come and ask questions or so on. So we try to balance it up here in the end. All right.